Well, well, well. Looks like Gene and Paul had to step back in to shake things up a bit. Welcome to the Kiss Army Things podcast. My name is Xander. This is episode 144, and yes, it's just me today. So Daphne has been extremely busy with a lot of things going on, and so she's not able to make it today. So it's just me. It's us today, one-on-one. But thank you so much for joining today's podcast. Actually, I've been really busy too. I just got done changing my battery in my car. I've had a lot of things happening this week, but I have to take time always to sit down with you guys to talk about Kiss because, as usual, there's a lot happening, there's a lot going on, and we just got some news updates about this Kiss Army Storms Vegas event happening in Las Vegas. So, I'm happy to talk about Kiss with you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And I want to go ahead and, before we get into anything, shout out all of our Patreon subscribers. Shout out to our sergeants, our corporals, all of you guys. Thank you so much for your continued support. I really do appreciate it. If you want, you can become a Patreon member too by clicking the link in the description. So let's go ahead and start off first with the Kiss Spotlight, because I'm always talking about Kiss's music. And I hope you guys aren't upset with me at always spotlighting greatest hits albums, because today I'm spotlighting the very best of Kiss, this 2002 release that came out when I was just a wee lad. So yes, again, I know I've been spotlighting a lot of greatest hits CDs this here recently, but you know what? I think it's because maybe 5 years ago or so, I kind of like stuck my nose up at the greatest hits, like, oh yeah, the greatest hits. You know, I went like out of my way to not collect them. Someone's like, hey, do you have icons or gold? I'm like, oh no, those, oh, I don't collect those. So many greatest hits, like I was somehow too good for greatest hits. But no, I mean, there are tons of awesome best of CDs in the Kiss discography. And so this one right here, the very best of Kiss, was the very first one that I remember coming out. I'm sure there were plenty that had come out in my lifetime, but the one that I can think back to, seeing on the shelf first, buying this and listening to it, was this one right here, the very best of Kiss. It came out in 2002, and it has 21 songs. This is what got me back in the day, because this is before Spotify. This is before we had, I had a computer, internet, anything like that. It was just, this CD was probably at the time kind of like Kiss 40 is today. This was like one of the most ultimate, the ultimate definitive best of Kiss greatest hits. And so of course it starts off with Strutter and Deuce from the first album and goes all the way to God Gave Rock and Roll to You, which I guess, Carnival of Souls and Psycho Circus weren't considered the best of Kiss at that point, so they had just included mostly singles. But the thing that gets me about this is that it has New York Groove from Ace's solo album, which, I mean, admittedly was the biggest hit of the 4 solo albums, but it's a cover. It is on a solo album, a Kiss member solo album. So the fact that it made it to this, I thought was really, really cool. But back in the day as a kid, I didn't know that, because I was like, wait, New York Groove, that's Ace singing, but what album is this? I didn't know what album that came off of. I didn't even know if it was actually Kiss. I thought it was Kiss. I thought that it was Gene, Paul, and Peter singing backup vocals on New York Groove. So yeah, it's funny how you're a kid, you just don't know. You just listen to the music and you enjoy the tunes, and you like it for what it is. On the back cover here, there's a nice photograph of the farewell tour Kiss, which is my Kiss, my originals Kiss right there. But yeah, so this I've been going back and listening to in preparation for the relaunch of KissMuseum.com. I've been transforming my garage and getting some things set up. So of course I'm going to jam Kiss in the Kiss Museum. And this is what I've been listening to as of late. So yes, if you want to, guys, in the comments, let me know what you've been jamming to as far as Kiss albums, or in my case, this best of Kiss CD. But let's go ahead and get into the big news for today, which is funny because we just did an episode about Vegas. Daphne and I did our Dream Vegas set list, talking about what we would like to see Kiss play or hear Kiss play. And by the way, you guys left some awesome set lists. So thank you so much for all those. I enjoyed going in the comments and looking at all your guys' set lists. Lots of great 80s choices. Somebody ended their set list with Journey of a Thousand Years, the closing track off Psycho Circus, which I thought was pretty cool. A great way to end it, considering Kiss's career has been, probably like that of A Journey of a Thousand Years. So thank you guys so much for playing along with that. And it was a lot of fun. But we have an update, because it looks like Paul and Gene are not too happy with the way this Vegas event is either going, operating, or turning out. Because we just got word this week via, I think it was the Broken Record podcast, Paul Stanley made an appearance, and he said expect some major changes happening very soon in terms of this Kiss Army Storms Vegas event. So all we know right now, and you guys know, we've been talking about it, you're going to have Gene, Paul, and Tommy reuniting on stage as, Kiss plus special guests. And we're going to have Bruce Kulick involved in some way, shape, or form. A couple Kiss tribute bands are making an appearance. Kiss Nation and Mr. Speed. You have guys like Sebastian Bach who are making appearances. And that's pretty much it, as far as we know. There was an initial wave of announcements, and then, ever since then it's been pretty lukewarm as far as, what else is going to be happening at the event, who else is going to be there, what fans can expect. And apparently it's just not enough for Gene and Paul, because while on the podcast, the Broken Record podcast, Paul admitted and started off as something that Gene and I took a back seat in. And honestly, we reached a point not too far in the past, this is a quote by the way, obviously, where we both said, you know what, this isn't the way we want it. And it's going to go through some major changes and be what we think it should be. So this should be pretty good news for the Kiss Army. This should be, some really good news to hear, because I think while we were all initially excited for Kiss to return in some way, there's going to be an official fan event happening. It didn't have that over-the-top spectacular aspect that, Kiss usually has when it comes to things like this. They're always talking about how, he even mentions about how, they spent 12 years nurturing the Kiss cruise. And how, they spent a lot of time perfecting that and giving fans, a certain level of expectation of what they can get. And it seems like this Kiss cruise on land, if you will, it just isn't up to Gene and Paul's standards. So I'm interested to see what they do with it, how they envision it. I think Paul even talked about how, Gene and himself are going to get up and play roughly 15 songs. We did 20 songs in our Dream Vegas set list, because you usually get roughly 20 songs from a Kiss show. So I guess Paul is saying roughly 15 or whatever, which I think is a little on the low end. I think that they should definitely try to play as many songs as possible. I mean, those Kiss Unplugged shows, you had a lot of songs. Some were only half, I will admit. They're only playing half songs, chorus and verses. But I don't know. Maybe they're not actually interested in taking requests and just playing half songs. Maybe they are going to try and, perfect a specific set for fans. I mean, who knows? Again, this is still early on. It's June right now. We have until November. This was announced, back in March, I think, somewhere around there. But typically, a Kiss cruise will be sold out by then, right? I mean, I haven't been on the Kiss cruises. You guys have. You know what it's all about. But it just seemed to me like the Kiss cruises were always sold out well in advance of the actual cruise. Sometimes it was even hard to get on the cruise when tickets were going on sale, because there was already folks lined up. They had already purchased their tickets last year. I mean, it seemed like to get on the Kiss cruise, you really had to know somebody or already have been on a previous Kiss cruise to get access to the next cruise. Or you were just hoping that somebody was going to post last minute, hey, my roommate dropped out, anybody want to go on the Kiss cruise? It was like, one of those tough to get into parties, it felt like. Whereas this Vegas event, I mean, you can go, depending on how much money you have, you can go and still get tickets. So, yeah, I wonder what led Gene and Paul to think this. I wonder if it was, they're looking at the itinerary, like, no, we can do better than that. Or if they're looking at ticket sales, like, wait a minute, this is like less than 6 months out. We should be doing way more than this. So, yeah, I don't know what triggered Gene and Paul to, to come out and say this, but it just seems like they're wanting it to be more, and they're wanting to let fans know that it's going to be more. Paul goes on to talk about, wanting the familiar touchstones that, a Kiss cruise might have, bands playing, Q&As, contests, food, good drink, social aspects. So I'm sure, I can say that, with or without Gene's direct involvement like this, the Vegas event was already going to be a fun event. I mean, I think that, we can all pretty much, agree on that. But again, there isn't that over-the-top extravaganza, you have to be there aspect of it. I've been totally content right now saying, yeah, I'll just watch it from home. I'll watch it on YouTube videos. Like, I want the announcement where it's like, oh man, Daphne, Jeb, we might have to go to this. You know what I mean? I'm waiting for that level of an announcement. I'm excited to see what Gina Paul bring to the table. They can do no wrong. And I just think this honestly gave me a chuckle. When I read this, I can just imagine Gina Paul coming in the room like, all right, guys, this isn't working. We need to shake it up. We need to divvy this up and put the Kiss polish on it. So I wonder if this was like Pop House's maybe their first test at saying, Gina Paul, I mean, again, Paul even said, look, honestly, admittedly, we took a backseat. We let other people, kind of take control, and we just don't think it is what it is. I think Gina Paul actually, Paul said no. Paul said, this is not what we want. We want something bigger, something different, something better. So I'm excited to see what that is. Gene seems to be downplaying it a little bit. Gene's like, oh no, this is no makeup, no big show. Not even the whole band's gonna be there. We're just gonna get together, play some songs. It's about the fans. It's only about the fans, which I appreciate that aspect because it is. But you would think that Gene, that kind of right there shows that Gene, at least initially, was taking more of a back seat because he doesn't even really seem to be fully aware of everything. And again, it's not technically their responsibility anymore. They let Pop House take over, and while Pop House is maybe doing a good job, Gene and Paul want to see this Vegas event, turn into a great job, a big event. And I can respect that. Again, I mean, I think we can all agree that this is a really, really cool experience. It's a cool event, but it doesn't seem to be as over-the-top historic. So again, I guess we'll have to just wait and see. Expect more on that. But I did want to mention that. Oh, and what's funny is that Paul, even in the middle of that podcast, talked about his top 5 favorite Kiss albums. I wanted to mention that because, again, fans are always talking about their top 5 albums, their top 5 songs, and so to hear one of the members of the bands talk about, Paul Stanley, talk about his top 5, I was like, you know what, I gotta know what Paul thinks are his top 5. So no spoilers, or I mean, it's gonna be spoilers, but if you don't want spoilers, you want to watch that podcast, hear it for yourself from him. Pause this, go watch it, or just skip past this. But I got to talk about Paul's top 5 because he said number 1, of course, was Kiss Alive. But he didn't sugarcoat it. He talked about how, there was inevitably going to be some changes and some mistakes that were fixed in the studio. But it was all about perfecting that live, capturing that perfect live experience that Kiss offered. And he felt like the first three albums didn't quite capture that. And I think we can all agree that, yeah, Kiss Alive was the one that captured that. So I felt like it was refreshing to hear Paul talk about, yes, this is the music business, this is the entertainment business. We didn't want to hear this, the same botched notes over and over again. We fixed what we had to, we kept what we needed, and we made sure to create the ultimate live rock experience. And it was that way then. It still holds up now, and I agree. It's funny how Kiss never gets anything recertified. I think Kiss Alive was certified maybe just a couple months after it was released and never recertified again. So some estimates say that it was sold upwards of 9 million albums sold, almost a diamond album for Kiss. But who knows if we'll ever actually see that award officially. And that could be worldwide too. RIAA is just going to obviously acknowledge the sales in America. So maybe it's 9 million worldwide sales, but the RIAA, the American Association of the Recording Industry, only acknowledges it as a gold album, which is so terrible. That's just awful. Kiss Alive is easily a platinum, double platinum, triple album, quadruple platinum. Who knows how many times platinum album that is. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. Paul Stanley, number 1 favorite Kiss album, of course. Kiss Alive. Number 2, Destroyer, the follow-up. He said that it was mostly because the education that came with it. The fact that they were working with Bob Ezrin and the fact that they learned so much on that record compared to the first 3 that, the lessons they learned on that record would take them through the rest of their career. So I can see why Destroyer was such a pivotal album for Kiss and for Paul. And it's funny how his number 2 is the one directly after his number 1, both sequentially and chronologically. So, yeah, that was really cool. Number 3 is going to make a lot of people upset. A lot of people are going to be upset that Paul chose Sonic Boom as his third favorite Kiss album, but the way he explained it was the band that they said that right there is a band that recognized their roots, but also knew where they were at that time, and once again had all four people contributing on the same page. We don't need to go through Kiss's history with recording albums and the fact that you had, some people involved more than others, and you had outside musicians, outside songwriters, and so Sonic Boom was probably the first, I guess from a pure standpoint, real Kiss album in a long, long time where you only had the guys in the band writing and recording and playing. So I think that right there, again, for Paul, he was very proud of that. And I, as a fan of that band, that lineup, definitely agree. Of course, I would have went with Monster, but this isn't my list, it's Paul's. So 3, Sonic Boom, 4, Rock and Roll Over. Again, talked about how just concise that record was, Rock and Roll Over. And Kiss Unplugged was his number 5. So he began at Kiss number 1. His first favorite Kiss album is a live album, and then his fifth favorite Kiss album is also a live album, Kiss Unplugged. And what got me was he was like, yeah, I was just listening to some of that a couple days ago and was really really happy with the way the band sounded and the way some of those songs came out. And I was like, how cool is it to think that Paul Stanley was listening to Kiss, Paul was listening to Kiss Unplugged. And of course it made me think, well, maybe he's using some of that as inspiration for Vegas. He did name drop Sure Know Something. There was a couple of songs he named, but Sure Know Something was one of them. And of course, you guys know how much I love that song. It was on my Dream Vegas list, so maybe that dream could become a reality. I don't know. I would hope so. I think it's a great song. It's criminally underrated, criminally underplayed, so maybe we'll see some more of stuff like that. But to know that Paul was listening to Kiss Unplugged a couple days ago, and that it's his 5th favorite Kiss album was really cool. So, yeah, there you go. Paul's top 5 favorite Kiss albums. And speaking of Paul Stanley, or the Starchild more specifically, one moment. I always do that. I always open up the Moneybag Soda at the opening of the episode, and I just start talking, I start blabbing, and I never drink it. Now, of course, it's just me today, so I'm doing all the talking, but bear with me as I refresh myself with some ice-cold Moneybag Soda. This is not a sponsorship, but I'm drinking the Blood Orange Moneybag Soda. But anyway, one of the topics, and I wish Daphne could be here for this because her reaction was so great. And again, this is going to make some people mad too. This is the news that we could have talked about in last week's episode, but some things you want to just let it cool off, let people come down. You hear something on social media, you read it, you flip out, you let it ruin your day. It's like, all right, we'll just chill out. So this one, it just might be generational, how you feel about this, but it was announced that Nick Jonas might be playing the Starchild, Paul Stanley, in the upcoming Shout Out Loud biopic that's coming out who knows when. I mean, it was in our first episode talking about that, and here we are 4 years later. But anyway, so yes, allegedly, rumors are that Nick Jonas from the Jonas Brothers is in talk to play Paul Stanley in the upcoming Kiss biopic, which I personally thought was actually kind of exciting. I told Daphne, she absolutely flipped out. Of course, some folks, they hear Jonas Brothers, they hear Jonas, they immediately go whatever. But no, I think that actually it could be done pretty well. I think Nick is a very talented actor, very talented vocalist. Obviously, he's a proven entertainer and performer. So I think that if he commits to the role, he could absolutely do this. But the reason why I'm bringing it up mainly is to say that this is not set in stone or anything, okay? This was reported by Deadline, and it was said specifically that Nick Jonas has near closed on a deal, okay? So don't focus on the headlines, and don't believe everything you read in the headlines, and don't especially believe everything you read in the comments, because they probably didn't read the article either. And so make sure to read the article, because this is not set in stone. This is just reporting that Nick Jonas has near closed on a deal where he could be playing the Starchild. Now, I know everybody reads something and they get all up in arms about it, but remember back when Justin Timberlake was in talks to play Neil Bogart for Spinning Gold? Probably not, because that was over 10 years ago, and that, of course, didn't happen. It went to, I think his name was Jeremy or something, so some guy named Jeremy ended up playing Neil Bogart in that movie. And that, again, that was like over a decade long, that whole process. So this biopic, we've talked about it for, again, 4 years, it could be another 4 years before anything actually happens. It just seems like everything gets stuck in development hell. So who knows? I mean, Nick Jonas could be, that deal could fall through at any time. It could be somebody else playing Paul. But I just thought it was so funny how, that immediate reaction of like, oh, no, Nick, he can't. They were saying he's too short. He's only, he's less than 6 foot tall. Paul's, more than 6 foot. Even with the boots, he'll be short. It's like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? Rich Kosak from Mr. Speed doesn't have as much chest hair as Paul Stanley, but he's still the best Paul Stanley that you're going to find other than Paul. It's like, okay, guys, we need to, if that's really what we're talking about, we need to go outside, shut the computer down, go outside, have some fun. No, I think that if done right, I think that Nick could do a good job at it. I think the article even talked about how he was going to commit to try and learn Paul's jet engine-like vocals, I think was the verbiage that they used. So yeah, again, I think that if Nick wants to commit and truly commit, I think he could pull off Paul Stanley and the Starchild really, really well. I was joking with Daphne. I was like, well, doesn't Nick have that song about, love in chains? You got me in chains for your love. And Paul Stanley has a song called Love in Chains. You keep your love in chains. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But anyway, so yeah, that was kind of interesting to me. We're going to hear more and more about this biopic. They say it's going to be in production early 2026. They said that it was going to be in production 2024, 2025. Who knows? Who cares? As a matter of fact, the original premise of this episode was going to be more of like a checkpoint episode, a touchstone episode, talking about, okay, so it's June 2025. The first half of the year is behind us. The second half is still ahead of us, and so much has happened already. What's coming next? What are we looking forward to? And so I think at this point it's safe to say that the biopic is definitely not going to be anytime soon. So I wouldn't let it get anybody up in arms or upset about it or anything like that. It'll come when it comes, especially the End of the Road documentary. I wish I had some updates to talk about the End of the Road documentary, but the last major update on that, I think might have been last October when Paul posted and was talking about how Aaron was going to be involved. It was going to be a 5-part documentary. Maybe a sliver of information has come out since then, but it just seems like, again, that stuff just gets caught up in development hell. It'll be released when it's released, or maybe not. I don't know. I kind of wanted to skip past the biopic and the End of the Road documentary to get to the one documentary that we probably can count on actually seeing the light of day, and that is the upcoming Eric Carr documentary. So some of you guys might remember this being talked about on the show. Joey Casada, in fact, mentioned it for the first time ever on this podcast back in episode 95 when we were talking about the Unfinished Business Record Store Day release. He was like, by the way, coming up next year is going to be a biography, official biography about Eric Carr, made by Loretta, and it's going to feature all kinds of cool stuff. So that was really exciting. I was waiting to hear more about that, and yes, it was confirmed earlier this year on Facebook by Loretta that there will be an Eric Carr documentary coming out. I think it's called Enter the Fox, I think, something like that. It was scheduled, I think she said it was going to be a mid-year release, and I mean, it's mid-year, so I know Eric's birthday is in July, so perhaps it could be maybe scheduled for a July release around his birthday. I don't know, but Loretta did say it'd be mid-year 2025. Here we are in mid-year 2025. Expect some updates soon, or at least fingers crossed. But you can expect this to have some never-before-seen footage of Eric Carr, both in Kiss and out of Kiss. One of the things that Loretta was talking about was how there's some really cool home footage of Christmas at the Caravello's house, 1968. You have some really cool home footage of Eric Carr and his family at Christmas time, and there's also some really cool stuff of Eric in the band during his time in Kiss. And so how this footage keeps coming out, how it keeps getting unearthed, I don't know, but I'm so glad because I think it's going to be a really, really great documentary. Loretta did say there should be a physical release tied into it, meaning we should be able to buy a DVD, buy a Blu-ray, something that we can actually have and put on our shelf, something that we can pop in the DVD player whenever we want. You don't have to rely on internet access or the hosting of some streaming service. So that to me was really, really exciting. Again, I haven't really heard any other updates other than that. But it's just really exciting to know that we're going to get some really cool official Eric Carr content. And again, some of the other things that we can expect in 2025, this was not on my bingo card. And we've talked a little bit about this, so we'll just re-mention a couple things here before I get to, there's one more thing I did want to mention before I get to, showing some Kiss stuff and all that, but we'll get to it, because I wanted to mention again Peter Criss's solo album. I don't think we're going to see a tremendous big marketing rollout for this album. I mean, Ace, when he does his albums, he's backed by a label. They have people for that. They do their own internal marketing. And then you have, of course, Ace and his marketing team. I don't know who is backing Peter on this, if this is an independent release or what, but I would expect this to be more of an independent release. Again, we'll see. But as far as the marketing goes and the rollout, I think it's going to be more of a fan-to-fan, peer-to-peer. I mean, Julian Gill from the Kiss FAQ podcast sat down with Peter on the FAQ channel and announced it, which I thought was so cool. Peter is really excited about the album. He wants everybody to, of course, enjoy it. He said it's for the Kiss Army guys. So, it's for all of us. And I know he's really excited. He's been working on it for a long time. Julian says he heard the album, he previewed it. He says that Peter's drum sound is massive. The vocals are powerful. The production is stunning. Producing this album is Barry Pointer, who's worked with Ozzy Osbourne, plenty of artists. Apparently, it's got some stellar production with some huge, powerful drumming by Peter Criss. He's also going to be singing. So, I mean, how much more do you want Peter Criss to album? That's going to be fantastic. I don't know. There's no release date. There's no title. I have no information on that. But we do know it's going to be scheduled for a fall release. More information will be, of course, coming out soon. But I think Peter said that he'll do more in-depth interviews later on. But I just want to reiterate the fact that there is going to be a Peter Criss album. It's been in the works for over a decade. And that has me really excited. I know Peter was going to release a solo album a while back, and it never happened. So I wonder if this is the culmination of that. Only time will tell. But it certainly is exciting. And Ace is working on another Origins album too. Talked about this earlier in the year. Last December, Ace announced that he was going to be starting up Origins Volume 3, scheduled for release maybe this year. He did say originally it was going to be produced by Steve Brown, who worked with him on 10,000 Volts. But in February, there was an update on that. Ace said he's actually going to be using Alex Salzman, who was the original producer for the first 2 volumes of Origins. So it looks like there's going to be some switching gears. Alex is coming back. Alex Salzman's going to be producing Origins Volume 3, and Steve might be coming back for the follow-up to 10,000 Volts, the next all-original studio album that Ace has planned. But it looks like he was really happy with the formula and the setup that he and Alex went with. So he's going back to that. They're going to be cooking up a fresh new batch of Ace Frehley cover songs. And I was surprised to hear that he was not originally excited about doing the Origins series at all. It was something that was suggested by the record label. They were like, hey, why don't we do a, all Ace Frehley, influences album and have you re-record some of your favorite songs by your favorite artist. And Ace at the time was like, I don't really want, he came off the success of Space Invader, all new original material. He was really excited for the follow-up to that, doing more original stuff. And so it felt almost like a stopping point, a roadblock almost. Like, oh, I got to do this to appease the record company, and we'll do this, we'll get it out of the way, and then I can finally get back to doing more originals. And what he found out was very early on in the process, he was actually kind of excited, and it was fun to listen to some of those bands and some of those artists, rediscover some of those songs that influenced him, and then, of course, Aceify him. So that's how the Origin series came out. I think it might have been only just a one-off, and then, of course, with how fun it was, ended up getting a second volume, and now we're due for a third. He said it could be slated for a 2025 release, a late 2025 release. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out early 2026, just because, he just released 10,000 Volts. He said that these are easier to record, the Origins, because he's not writing anything. He's just, recording and aceifying these songs. But I don't know. At this point, I think it would not be surprising if this was scheduled for a very, very early 2026 release. Who knows? We'll see. I'll be sure to keep everybody informed on that. But yeah, just to kind of, again, I wanted to talk about some of the things that were happening now, but also talk about what we can look forward to and expect happening for the remainder of the year. And one of the things I'm happy to talk about is the Kiss Cadillac 50th anniversary celebration. So earlier in the year, I mentioned how there was an email sign up where you could sign up and then you would get email updates in regards to the 50th anniversary celebration of Kiss visiting Cadillac in '75. The town, of course, very much celebrates their little piece in history, and they are going to have a celebration for this. But I wasn't sure what that was going to look like. And so I signed up for the email. I must have either missed an email or just, didn't get it or whatever, but I finally have an update on that. So we knew there was going to be a celebration in Cadillac. We know that the anniversary is October 9th, October 10th, but we weren't quite sure what was going to be happening or if the town had anything planned. Well, now we have a little bit of an idea of what's going to be happening in Cadillac. So from October 9th to the 12th, that entire weekend, the town of Cadillac is going to be celebrating their 50th anniversary since Kiss made their visit to the high school all those years ago. And so we're going to have live concerts, but we're not sure by who yet. Could be Kiss tribute bands, could be some local artists, but they want to have lots of live music. They're going to have an enhanced version of their History tour. So I guess if you go to Cadillac, you can take a 2.5 mile walking tour led by, I'm pretty sure it's Jim Neff, the coach at the time. He, again, loves this. It's his passion. And so he, gives the tour and takes you all around the sites where Kiss was on the parade, City Hall, or all this really cool stuff. Of course, it ends with, or it includes the monument itself at Cadillac High. So there's going to be an enhanced version of this tour. What that means, I don't know, but it seems like there's going to be just a more enhanced version of this walking tour, along with an alumni reunion. So they're going to bring back some of the people who, I'm assuming, got coaches. You're going to have some of the maybe staff. I don't know. I definitely expect some of the class of 75, or I guess it'd be class of 76, I guess. But maybe we'll see some folks from the class of 76 there, some people who were actually there, the football team, some cheerleaders. Maybe we'll see some teachers. I don't know. I know that Coach Jim Neff just did a presentation recently in the city of Cadillac talking about this, and it's really cool how much this still means to him. Of course, he played a huge part in that and assisted in making that happen in the first place, contacting Kiss, getting them out there, and it's really cool that you have this really cool piece of history that lies in the Midwest. Obviously, Indiana is where it was born, but Detroit is where it was born too. I mean, Kiss is very much they're an American band. They're a New York band first and foremost, but the Midwest really embraced Kiss, and you get that in places like Terre Haute, Indiana, and Cadillac, Michigan. So if this is something that excites you guys, you might want to check out Cadillac. You can go to kisscadillac.com and cadillacmichigan.com to stay up to date. I'll be sure to talk about any more updates as they roll out, but I would like to take Daphne up there, her and I just go up there and see some sites, take that walking tour ourselves, and check out all there is to offer. Oh, I didn't mention the Kiss 50 film. So there's going to be a special screening of this. It's called Kiss 50 film. I'm assuming it's made just for this event. I don't know who's producing it, who's behind it, but that's one thing that we can also expect to be happening. So yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a really fun weekend in Cadillac, celebrating 50 years of history, 50 years of Kiss and Cadillac. And that reminds me, I probably should mention this too, because just a couple days ago, I was watching the new Kiss Cadillac documentary that somebody else made, Necromonium, who everybody should know, Necromonium. Very famous in Kiss fan circles for great Kiss videos, Kiss documentaries. And so Necromonium on their YouTube channel just uploaded, it's called Kissed in Cadillac. Kissed in Cadillac. And it's, I would say, the definitive Cadillac documentary. There was I think like in '09, right around there, Gene and Paul were interviewed talking about Cadillac. Of course, there's lots of footage from the actual event, footage that was taken from the crowd. You have testimonies from the coaches and from cheerleaders and football players. And so this Kissed in Cadillac documentary that Necromonium packaged, I think, is the ultimate definitive documentary of the Kiss Cadillac story. It's been told many different times in many different ways. So if you have about, I think, 35 minutes, check out Kissed in Cadillac on YouTube, and you can check out, again, it's just the definitive Cadillac documentary. But I'm interested to see what this Kiss 50 film has that Cadillac is going to be screening. I wonder if I imagine it's got to be all new footage, new footage that was filmed. I mean, who knows? Maybe they do actually have some unearthed footage from the actual event that nobody's ever seen. That'd be really cool. But more on that as it rolls out. But again, I just wanted to kind of pop in for a quick episode. Again, kind of like a checkpoint, a touchstone, talking about the halfway point in 2025. Let's go ahead and get to the Kiss calendar, just because I feel like the Kiss calendar kind of relates to this. We're talking about Kiss Army Storms Vegas. We're talking about Kiss Cadillac. All these fun things happening in 2025. So let's go ahead and check in with the Kiss calendar. And if you're wondering what this is and why we do this, well, I mean, obviously you know what a Kiss calendar is. But anyway, so I always do something fun towards the end of our episodes. And for 2025, I wanted to just track along with all of the fun milestones and events and all the cool releases and things that are happening in 2025 so that we can look back on. I used to collect Kiss calendars. Well, okay. Dad used to collect Kiss calendars, and then I picked up the tradition for a little while, but after a while I just quit buying the calendars every year because I mostly just bought them to keep them sealed and just put them away. I was like, I don't want to use them and unpackage them or mark in them, but I really, really wish I had. I really wish I could go back to the 2013 or 2012, 20 whatever Kiss calendar and open it and flip through and go, I can think back to when that was going on. Wow, that's been a little while. Or, yeah, that was great, But no, I had to buy them, keep them packaged, keep them sealed, put them on the shelf, and now they're just down there. So I bought a 2025 official Kiss calendar knowing that I'm going to open it up, knowing I'm going to mark in it, knowing I'm going to keep track of all the fun things that are happening this year. And so, no, I don't want to turn it into a, Kiss made a red carpet appearance, or Kiss was seen on this date. No, I'm not going to turn it into a, this date in history where every single date has a million different things happening. That's not what it's about. It's about what's happening now and what's going on in 2025. Of course, we had 50 years of Dress to Kill in March. Jeb and I saw Ace back in March. Rob and I saw Gene in May. So yeah, those are the things that we're keeping track of as far as the Kiss calendar goes. So I believe I did mark already. Yes, in November we have from the 14th to the 16th, we have Kiss Army Storms Vegas. So we already know that's happening. Expect some major changes to that. But I'm going to quickly, in October, we're going to mark down the 50th anniversary celebration of Kiss in Cadillac. Yes, I know it's not for another several months, but I think it's okay to go ahead and mark it. Something to look forward to. And I'm looking at all these awesome pictures. I can't wait to get to them. But yeah, so we're now on June. And admittedly, we don't really have anything happening in June as far as any releases in history or any major milestones. I mean, there's always, history moments in history, but nothing, major. So I'll be sure to check back in with the Kiss calendar when we have something. I think Eric Carr's birthday in July might be the next item on the list. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to everybody's favorite portion of the show, the Collector's Corner. And today, I'll admit, I have nothing new Kiss to show. Nothing new Kiss to open, but I do have something really cool that's Kiss to share. And everybody loves Kiss Army kits. Everybody loves Kiss Army kits. And we got a Kiss Army kit in our gift from Z Unit a couple episodes ago. It was just too much to go through on the show, so it was something that once I ended the show, I was like, I have to sit here and just go through this Kiss Army kit. But I know that everybody loves the vintage Alcoin stuff, and so I thought that I would just real quickly share the pieces to this Kiss Army kit, the solo album kit specifically. The kits are kind of a weird subject because not everybody is sure what should be in a Kiss Army kit. Everyone's like, oh, well, you don't have this. Well, it's not complete. Oh, well, you have that. Well, mine's not complete. Well, who knows? Who knows? Every Kiss Army kit at a certain point was different. I mean, John 5 posted the other day saying, it was a picture that somebody would have gotten saying, hey, sorry you didn't get XYZ in your Kiss Army kit, but we're happy to announce that you're going to be getting this XYZ in the new Kiss Army kit. So the Kiss Army kits were really different, but this one I know is not a complete kit. It doesn't have the membership card with it, the little card. Who knows where that ended up. There's no patch. I think most of them came with a patch, a Kiss patch, the Kiss sticker, the Kiss Army sticker. I don't know what all came with them, but this, while it does have a lot, I'm not sure that it's complete, but who cares? It completes me. It's a lot of fun going through this stuff and getting this stuff. I can't wait to show you guys. So I'm going to start off, obviously, with the folder itself. I'm going to be very gentle with it because you can see that this folder in particular is really beaten up. The bottom corner here is kind of torn. But yes, there it is right there, the cover, the Boutwell folder for the 78 solo album cover kits. This one in particular on the back just has the Boutwell logo. There's no address or anything like that on the back. I'll be careful opening it up. But there's where you have your greeting letter there from Sergeant Baker welcoming you to the Kiss Army and saying enjoy your Kiss Army kit. Of course, we have the advertisements for the solo albums right there, which is what this Kiss Army kit is all about. I love how on the inside, I was reading this, and at the bottom it says, P.S. If you're one of the lucky members with a special gold seal on the front of your Kiss Army membership kit, congratulations. Thank you for joining another fantastic year in the Kiss Army. So this one, as you can see, does not have a golden seal. I've never seen one at all with a golden seal. I would love to know what that golden seal looks like and how often people try to fake it. That's something that, you're like, wait a minute, there's a gold seal. I want a gold seal. So I can see some kid back in the day sticking a gold sticker on there and think, oh, look, I got the gold seal. Not that you got any prize. There's no, prize. It doesn't say, send in a picture or send in proof for your, and redeem your, there's no prize for it. But that's just one more cool thing that you could look forward to back in the day if you were a kid getting this was, oh, did you get the gold seal? Did you get the gold seal? So yes, there's the folder right there. Again, be very, very gentle with it. I'll go ahead and show the photographs that came with them. These are probably the most iconic parts of the Kiss Army kit are the photographs of the band. So here we have Ace Frehley right there. I love it. These are, yes, solo album, but it's giving Phantom vibes. Not really this one in particular, Ace. This is definitely like a Love Gun era looking shot. But the Gene one right here just gives me total Chamber of Thrills vibes. Like you just walked in on Gene in the Chamber of Thrills, and now he's gonna, bite your neck and sink his teeth into you and drink your blood. He has that look like, oh, you found me. I don't know, whatever. I just, love Gene's photograph there. Paul, of course, the seductive, ladies' man, the rock star. Oh, you caught me on you here, get my good side. So yeah, there's Paul Stanley there. Peter with the green glow on the hair. I love how just embedded they are in their characters at this point by the solo album. That's where you get the iconic green, the red, the blue, the purple. I think I have purple for today's show. Bingo. So yeah, there's Peter's photograph there. And it came with a group shot, and this has to be one of the coolest group shots ever. Them about to take a bow at the very end of one of their shows on the Love Gun tour. Super, super cool. And these photographs are often faked. You can find fakes, so you got to be really careful. Always look for the copyright. Make sure it's a really nice, clean print. Make sure it's centered in the photograph. You don't want any, crookedness or discoloration, but these are obviously real. I very much trust Z Unit, and I have to thank Z Unit very much for keeping everything neatly packaged and sleeved. I mean, everything is in its own individual sleeve. Everything is kept very nicely together. So, yeah, I wanted to show this because, you see some of this stuff often in, different different variations of shape. Some things are loose, some things are torn, some things are incomplete. Again, not that the whole set is complete, but just you're looking at, well, actually, here you go. Here's an example of being incomplete. So this one didn't come with the newsletter, I don't think, the actual, newsletter, but it did come with the portion where you get the band biographies. So I guess I could go ahead and just quickly, slowly, easily take this out and show you what it is, although I'm sure most of you have already seen it. So you had Gene and Paul right there. Ooh, should I show you this? This is classified information. Maybe I shouldn't be showing you this. This is labeled as classified. But yeah, just don't tell anyone. Don't tell Sergeant Baker I'm showing you this, okay? But just anyway, here is Peter and Ace on the inside there. So yeah, this is how you do social media in 1978. Nowadays, you can just get on social media, look at Paul's Twitter, look at all the photos and everything. Kiss fans have their own, whatever. But, with no computers, no social media, like this is how you do it. Right there is Paul's profile right there. There's Gene's profile pic. Here's his, about section. And then here's his, his information and just some fun facts about him. So, yeah, this is almost like, a social media post back in the day, or a social media biography, if you will, which I love. So yes, I do believe there is supposed to be another piece to this, a newsletter that has the actual greeting message and the headline and all that fun stuff, but still really cool to have this in perfect shape. No corners that have been bent or torn, no discoloration. It's perfect. I'm so thrilled to have that. I might even be more thrilled to have this. Check out this wallet, the wallet photo sheet. So usually when I've seen this before, but usually you see these, when they've already had the cards taken out, they're in a stack. Maybe you have all four in this one, but you're missing the group shot. Maybe you have all of them, but you're missing this one here. Who knows? This one is a completely clean, perfect sheet of the wallet size photos. They're all perfectly there. And it's just so awesome to see everything together like that. I've seen some of these before, ripped, bent, torn, missing, but to have a full sheet is super awesome. As well as these, I don't understand these because they look like they're supposed to be stamps just by the way they look, by the way they're sized. But they are, in fact, not stamps. You cannot peel these. They're not peelable. You can't stick them anywhere. They're literally just square images of the band. Now, they are perforated, so you can, again, still divide them up, tear them off, and, have each individual one plus your logo and your band group card. But, yeah, I don't know. They're just square images of Kiss. I don't know. These, I don't know if these came in every one of the kits or not. This might have been one of those maybe random add-ons, maybe the ones that were thrown in later ones only, or early ones only, or every other one, or who knows. I don't know. All this stuff is kind of just, a free-for-all. And it's funny because these I've never seen. The table tents, you have all four of them there. It's funny because the only one I've seen is the Love Gun one, I think, which it folds at the halfway point and sits like an actual, table tent. These ones are different. These ones, you take this side part right here with the color and their logo, or excuse me, their signature and the Kiss Army logo, you would tear that part off and stick it at the bottom, and it would rest on top and create a small little table tent. So these ones are different than the one that I've seen. But these are the ones that would have came with the solo album. You can see here there's obviously one for each one. They are all intact except for Ace, the Spaceman. You can see Ace's is the only one that doesn't have the what would be a blue bar over here with his signature and the Kiss Army logo. So it looks like that one had already been perforated and used and maybe discarded or lost or whatever. But I really can't complain because how often are you going to see a set of these with, most of them have the portion still attached. So that's really cool. I wanted to share that with everybody here. These, I think, are just order forms from the solo albums themselves, the vinyl. I don't think they were including individual solo album order forms inside Army kits, but these did come with the Z Unit package, which is super cool because it's just more 78 fun. As a matter of fact, I don't think I have a couple. I have all the solo albums, but I don't think all of them have the order forms still in them. I think those were probably used and cast aside or thrown away or sent in or whatever back in the day. But so I did want to at least show them here because it is part of the 78 fun. It is part of the solo albums. So even though it's not a part of the Army kit necessarily, it's still a part of the solo albums. And then this one, I did show this already in the last episode when we opened it. It's just an order form from, I think, 1980. But it has some really cool stuff on it. And even has an ad for Paul's Ibanez guitar and Gene's Axe guitar. And how it says they're going to be in stores. You can get Gene's specially designed Kramer guitar in stores around the world this summer. Was that true? Did that actually end up happening? I've never heard anybody say, hey, here's my Gene Simmons 1980 Kramer Axe bass that was sold in the Kiss Essential Gear order form from 1980. Maybe I could be mistaken. I've never seen somebody with their Paul Ibanez, but hey, what do I know? This is just super cool stuff. Yeah, you have the, of course, 77, 78 tour book, the Dynasty tour book, which was the newest one at that time, the Unmasked poster, Unmasked t-shirt. So yeah, there's just some more late 70s, early 80s Kiss fun there. I have a question for everybody. So this is for all the collectors out there who want to shed some knowledge for me here. I showed this in the episode when we opened the package, but I think we at the time said it was like an iron-on or a sticker, or I don't know what this is, I'll be honest. I think it's a decal. I don't think it's a tattoo. It is in a bag here, so I can go ahead and get it out. I know that the image itself, like once you start peeling this part right here, you can see that it is transparent right there, and it's in reverse. So that makes me think it looks like it's, maybe meant to be a decal that you would stick on the inside of the glass so that would face correctly outwards. I don't think it's a temporary tattoo. I mean, that would be really huge for an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old's arm. That's a pretty nice size for my 30-year-old arm. So yeah, it looks to me like it's just a decal, but there is no date on it. There is no copyright. It looks to me, it wouldn't surprise me if this was from 1976 or at least, around that era / early days of Kiss because of the way it looks. I don't know. I would love to have some info on this. I don't think it was part of the Kiss Army kits, although it very well could have been. These were very much a free-for-all, so I just wanted to at least show my Kiss Army kit to you guys, and let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys have in yours. Am I missing something? I know I'm missing the membership card. I know that I'm missing the patch, and I think there was even a Kiss Army logo sticker or something else that went with this. So, hey, maybe this is what replaced that in my Army kit. Maybe this one, they didn't have enough of the Army ones, so they say, throw in a Rock and Roll Over sticker for the kid. Who knows? Either way, just really, really cool. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I said I did not have anything new Kiss to show, and that is true. I do have something new Kiss Army things to show. That's right. I announced in the last episode that we officially have merchandise now that we're selling. Not like we're trying to out here make a bunch of money off you guys. I just know that some folks have asked in the past, like, do you guys have Kiss Army Things merch? I love your show. I'd love to wear a hat. Love to have a shirt or even just a little button, And I'm like, we don't have merch, but we now officially have a TeePublic store, and I wanted to buy some Kiss Army Things shirts. And you're thinking, well, wait, so you went and bought your own merch? Don't you just get it for free? No. TeePublic is the one that hosts the web. They host the website. They're the ones that host the artwork. They take all the orders. They print all the orders and fulfill all the orders, so they get most of the money. We might get pennies on the dollar. But again, we're not here just to make a bunch of money off of Kiss fans. We're here just to spread the love of Kiss. And I went ahead and bought some Kiss Army Things shirts so that I could wear. And I can tell you right now, I am thoroughly happy with this. Thoroughly happy with this right here. This right here is an XL. I think, right, in XL. No, this is a large. I got a large. Okay, good thing too, because this is a large, a large shirt. I wanted, I wanted a large, but it looks like this is almost like an extra large. But yeah, decent size for a large. But either way, so you can see our logo right there perfectly on there. This is not cheapo print, which I'm glad, because sometimes you can literally just take your finger and you can scrape all that ink or all that stuff off. You can't do that here. I mean, even if you could, our logo's already scratched and distressed enough, so it kind of already has that vintage look. But I can say right now that I'm very happy with the print on this. And you know what? I think it's time for a little Xander magic trick. I mean, I bought the shirt, so I might as well wear it, right? No, this is awesome. It's a comfortable fit, soft material. I've mentioned burlap sack shirts on the episode before. This is not a burlap sack shirt. This is a nice, comfy shirt with the logo nice and big, perfectly printed on there. Rest assured, this is a quality shirt. You can get it for about $20 on TeePublic. So yeah, if you look on our YouTube channel, I actually have it linked to where you can just look and see some of the products there. So if you want to support Kiss Army Things and rep Kiss Army Things, definitely check out TeePublic. This one right here is a medium. That is for Daphne. Of course, she's not here, but I will give her that shirt later on. And I also went ahead and got another large for me, but this one is a gray heathered shirt. So yeah, I wanted to get a different style, or a different color, but just to have some options there. So yes, if you want some Kiss Army Things swag, head over to TeePublic and you can get those. I am digging this. This is super awesome. So that's how I'm going to end the show today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on the quick episode, just talking about some of the fun things that are happening now, what's coming ahead, and just having some old school 1978 Kiss Army kit fun. So yeah, I always love sharing my Kiss stuff with you guys, sharing the Kiss news, talking about everything that's upcoming. It means a lot that you guys would watch and join along. I ask that you please like this video, subscribe, and follow along with us. We're going to be uploading more episodes and more videos throughout the year and beyond. Expect Kiss Museum to be relaunching in less than 1 month. I cannot wait. I'm super excited. I'm hard at work right now getting everything geared up, so I'm excited to bring more news about the Kiss Museum relaunching, and I'll be bringing some more news about that in the future. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of your week. Hope you guys are having a good time. Stay safe. And I'll see you next time on episode 145 of the Kiss Army Things podcast. Until then, my name is Xander. Peace out and rock on.